Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hello, everybody. I've got my coffee. I've made it upstairs and I've got my camera set up ahead of time here for our Crochet Along Live this morning. Good morning, Hat Creek. Good morning, Ormsby Farm. Oh, I need that coffee this morning. It was a late night recording some episodes for Round the Hay Bale. But I'm up this morning. I've been up since before 6 o'clock. And I've got my coffee and I've got my crochet. Now, I'm going to apologize to everyone in advance for the fact that there's going to be a couple things different here this week because I don't have Wi-Fi at my home right now here at the farm. They're going to be coming out later on today and messing with the router and the wires and all that weird stuff that I don't understand, cables, I don't know, to see about setting me back up to make sure that we have good internet here at the farm. But right now I don't have that. So I'm working off of what I've got just here on my phone. So that means I didn't have to do my hair and makeup today because it's all about the hands, jazz hands. Also, because of that, when I set this up on StreamYard, I did not do the banners that will have the instructions that roll across the bottom of the page because how I have the phone set up to record this, not working off my laptop, I can't toggle back and forth between setting up the banners and crocheting without setting something off or accidentally exiting out of the entire StreamYard studio. So this is it here today. Thankfully, we've got a relatively simple pattern to follow. You should be able to follow okay just by the verbal part of my voice here, just audio, you should be able to follow. Now, I did want to touch on something before we get too far into our week 3 for our crochet along. And I see that some of you will be coming back for the replay. So those of you who are going to be catching this on a replay, welcome. I thank you so much for being here. And I thank those who are going to be popping in and doing this crochet along live. Unfortunately, because of how the camera is as well, I won't be able to see comments. So I have no idea what's going on just because of how the camera is. So hello, friends. Tickle, tickle. I wanted to touch on something. Now, last week we did square 2, which was our half double crochet. And I have a very tight gauge. I'm a very tight crocheter. A little more relaxed on this second square. My first square was very tight. And I know that Nisi over at Freehandly Made, she was saying her first square was very tight as well. The single crochet can be a very tight stitch. And although I said you don't have to block, it should stretch out. I know it will. I know it will. But I was really irritated with mine. So let me share with you what I did. Here is my square 1 now. It's still a little smaller, but it's going to stretch out much better than it did before. I have it marked to indicate that I made a difference. What I did was I thought, do I just redo the whole thing and go a little easier with my tension? What can I do to salvage this? So what I did was I removed our second part of our edging that is with your color A. I removed this edging part and I did one more round of the first round of edging. So this one here, you can see I have a round of edging here and I have a round of the gray edging here, and then I did the white edging here. And that made this square just that little bit more bigger, just that teeny little bit, so that when I do sew them together, it's going to give me just a little bit more wiggle room. So if you find that square 1 is a little bit too small, go ahead and remove the last round of your edging, add another round of the colored edging, and just go ahead and do that. Just keep in mind, you're going to have to account for your stitch count still. So make sure that when you add your second row of edging, that you still end up with, I believe we had 27 between here and here. You're going to make that corner again, it's going to add 2 more. So you're going to have to kind of Here we added an extra stitch as we went along because we had to make 25. We went from 23 to 25, so we added 2 extra stitches. When you do that second row of color, you're going to have to single crochet together 2 stitches so you still have 25 because you're going to add those corners and it's going to give you 2 more. The main thing is when you get to this final row, this final round of your edging that you've got in between your corners, you have 25. That way it's going to match up with what you've got for your other squares. So if you want to do that, do that. I think it would be a much better option than ripping it all out and starting all over and all of that terrible stuff that I considered. And I honestly don't remember this happening last time when I made this Afghan. So today we're going to be working on block number 3. It is our double crochet block. I've already put the tutorials up. I put them up late last week. And so there is left-handed instructions and right-handed instructions for this block for the double crochet. So you're going to choose your color A. That's the color that has the most yardage that we had in our supply list. So for me, that's white because that is what is the color that I'm using to put around my squares. So you can see my blanket is going to be this lovely teal, gray, and white. That's it. Those are my 3 colors. But some of my squares are going to indeed be white, and so that's where I'm going to start with this one. So starting with color A, leave yourself a nice long tail and go ahead and put in your slip stitch. Again, there's a couple ways you can do this. Not your slip stitch, I apologize, your slip knot. You want your slip knot to start. And we're using our size H hook. And to start our square 3, block 3 for our Afghan, for our Heirloom Afghan crochet along. Let me get my notes here up where I can see them. All right, so with this color, we're going to loosely color, loosely color, I am so tired. We're going to loosely crochet 27 chains. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. So there's our 27 chains. Nice and neat, and these are going to be easy to work with. Now, I can tell that spring is right around the corner. Do you know how I know that spring is right around the corner here in Iowa? Even though we're expecting another snowstorm, the flies have reappeared. Louie is here today buzzing around. I have a big, huge, buzzy Louie up here in my craft room with me, and he is going to create havoc. So I apologize if you hear him buzzing around up above my head. He is going to provide our music for us today. Okay, so here's our chain 27. We're going to double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook and in every stitch across. So this is our hook here, our yarn and our hook. We're going to double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So according to our instructions that we had on our tutorial, we're going to yarn over our hook, go into the stitch. I'm just going to go into that very top loop, grab my yarn and pull it back through so that I have 3 loops on the hook. I'm going to yarn over and pull through 2. I'm going to yarn over and pull through 2. And there is our first double crochet right there. So we're going to do that in every stitch across. yarn over into our next stitch, grab our yarn and pull it through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now eventually we're going to end up with 25 double crochet. Now remember, as we do this crochet along, you do not have to worry about whether or not you crochet at the same speed that I do. The crochet along lives and other tutorials will always be made available to you so you can come back and watch when you need to. You can watch the replays. You can pause, rewind if you've missed a stitch or if you need to look at a stitch count. In the description box for this tutorial, once I get my internet back, I will go back and I will put the instructions in for this square. So making sure we don't skip any of these chains. We're doing a double crochet all the way down the row. As you recall, our first square, it took us a while. Those single crochets are little short little stitches. Our half double crochets went a little faster. And then our double crochets are going to be faster yet because these are nice tall stitches. Our square will be done in no time compared to how long it took for the single crochet. Almost to the end of our row 1 here. Just a few more chains to place double crochets into, and then we'll lay our work flat and take a look and see how we're doing. Apologies to those who I have not acknowledged as you come in. Again, I'm working off of my cell phone. I do not have internet service here today at the farm, so I can't see the chat. So if you are saying anything, if you were saying hello or good morning, or if you have questions, please know I can't see it. I'll do my best to go back through the live when we're done and see if I've missed any questions and then acknowledge those in a chat or in the dialog box, the comment box below. But don't feel that I'm ignoring you. So we're supposed to have 25 stitches. Now, according to our instructions, this is an older pattern. Some patterns will say when you leave these first 3 chains and you chain into the 4th, you double crochet into the 4th chain, that sometimes this will be your first double crochet. This bar right here will be your first. Let's see what we got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. So you're going to count the first 3 chains that you did not do anything with. The way that comes up, that counts as your first double crochet right there. And then we've got all of our double crochets across. So that's row 1. Getting myself a little extra yarn here. We're going to chain and then move on to row 2. So what we want to do is for row 2, at the end of right where we're at, we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. This is going to be considered the first double crochet of our next round. So if this is our last double crochet of our first round, this is our first double crochet of our next round, we're going to rotate our work around. We're going to turn it. And according to our instructions, we're going to double crochet in the next double crochet from the previous round. And this is where it's important in some of your patterns that you understand the difference between turning your work and completing a stitch in your first stitch below and turning your work and doing your next stitch in the next stitch. Some of our work we've had to work in the first double crochet or the first stitch below you. That would be right here. This was our last one, so now it's our first one. This pattern says we're going to work a double crochet in the next stitch, which is going to be right here. So make sure you don't put it here or you're going to end up with 2, which is going to look like a V. And then if you do that every row, your work's going to start doing this, and we don't want that. We want it to be nice and square. So working in the next available stitch, which is going to be right here, we're going to place a double crochet. Yarn over into the stitch indicated. Make sure that you get both the front and the back loop. We're working through both loops on this stitch. That's going to come in handy when we do 2 patterns from now. On week 5, we're going to really be working on either the front loop or the back loop. So always make sure that when you go through a stitch, you've got both loops on there. We're going to yarn over and pull our yarn through. Yarn over, go through 2 loops on our hook. Yarn over, go through 2 loops on our hook. And now as we look at our square, we can see how those line up. We've got these 2 double crochet here, and we've got these 2 double crochet here that line up just perfectly. And we're just going to continue with double crochet all the way down our row. And we should end up with 25 total, counting this chain 3 turn as our first double crochet. So working right here in this next stitch, we're going to yarn over, put our hook through the stitch, getting both the back and the front loop. Grab our yarn and pull it back through. We have 3 loops on our hook. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops. And we're well on our way. Look at how quickly that's worked up, how thick that is. When we were doing our single crochet, that would have been the equivalent of probably 4, maybe even 5 rows. So we're just going to continue to do double crochet in every stitch across. And when we get to the end, I'm going to do a quick count to see where we are. So work at your own pace, and I will see you at the end of the row. I'm just going to be quiet. We're going to see if Louie is going to buzz around and sing us a song of spring. It's one thing I'm not looking forward to when you live on a farm. The flies come out in the springtime. They are bothersome. That's part of farm life, right? I also want to apologize for the fact that since I'm having to use my phone to record this morning without the benefit of Wi-Fi, I wasn't able to turn off or to activate the airplane mode on my phone. I have to have the airplane mode disabled because I need it for the internet on the phone. So you will probably hear little buzzes come through when I get notifications for emails or something going on YouTube or Facebook. And hopefully I won't get any phone calls, because if I get phone calls, I'm not going to be able to see to try to turn them off before it becomes too much of a nuisance. So today is all about the Thursday buzz. We've got the fly buzzing around. We've got the phone buzzing because of all the notifications coming in. I'm going to stop right here. I'm going to allow myself this little bit of room here at the end because I want to do a count. I want to see exactly where we are on our count here. So counting this as our first double crochet right here, we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. We need 2 more. So you can see that we do have one more V right here for this stitch. This is going to be number 24, because it's really nice and clear that that stitch is there. Here's our first 3 that we skipped, the chain that we skipped. We're going to do a double crochet right in the very top chain that we've got there. That should be number 25. So here you can see that these 2 stitches line up here. These 2 stitches line up here. And here we've got this chain 3, and this lines up here with our last double crochet that we put in. Now, just like before, we're going to chain 3 and turn our work. And we're going to repeat row 2 across. So remember, this chain up 3, it's already our first double crochet of this row. It's considered that because we worked right here. So we're going to work a double crochet in the next space that's available here. We're not going here. We're going right here with our double crochet. So yarn over into our stitch, making sure we go through both front and back loops. Grab our yarn and pull through. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops on our hook. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops on our hook. And things are going to start lining up beautifully. We're going to have a beautiful square by the time that we are done. So we're just going to double crochet in every stitch across row 2, and that will create row 3. Hello to everyone who's joining us today. I apologize that I cannot see what's happening in the chat because I'm having to use my phone only today, so I can't see the chat because I've got my phone positioned over my hands. If you saw the contraption that I have set up to do these top-down crochet tutorials and these top-down lives, you would laugh at me. I have a contraption here that is made up of, let's see, a milk crate, my ring light stand, a panel from a dog crate, and pipe cleaners. But it works. It may not be pretty, but it works. And it didn't cost me anything because I used materials that I already had right here at the farmhouse. I think it was pretty clever. I might even do a video because I know that setting top-down setups can be difficult. I know this from experience, so maybe I'll share with you what I did so that I have plenty of room for my hands. Remember the first time we did something, I was so close to the table because my camera set up, my hook kept hitting the table. Maybe that's why my first block was so tight. Now here's our last evident double crochet from the previous row. We're going to crochet in that. There's our double crochet. And then this was considered our first double crochet of the row, this chain 3 turn right here. So we're going to double crochet in the very top of that. I'm going to pull my hook out a little bit here and let's see how we did on that. Did I get exactly 25? Let's see. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. And you may say, Alicia, it's a little bit redundant, isn't it, to count it over and over and over again? It is, but you know what? I'd rather take those 10 or 15 seconds it takes to count that row and make sure that I'm good and square than to get 2, 3, 4 more rows into it and realize, oops, I'm off a stitch and either my work is going this way or my work is going that way. I'd rather take the time and make sure that I've got what I need. So I'm going to chain 3 And I'm going to turn my work and I'm going to start on row 4. Before I do that though, I'm going to set my work down here for a second. I'm going to try to peek up on my phone here and see, do we have anything going on in the chat? We do have some people joining us. Hello. Hello, Nisi. I'm glad you're here. Good morning, Lynette. You can catch up whenever you need to, Lynette. That's fine. Oops. I'm dropping stuff. All right, I'm not going to go too far back, but just to say hello to everybody, check to make sure that the chat is going well. Everybody seems to be getting along great, and we've got some people in here. So I'm going to sit back down and get back to working on my next row. And I hope that with the white color that I've chosen in this background, I'm hoping everybody can see okay. Remember that the tutorial for this stitch is available for left-handed and right-handed crocheters as well. So if you need to go back and check that, you can. But we're going to start on row 4. So remember, our chain 3 counts as our first double crochet in this pattern. We're going to do a double crochet in our next stitch, which is right here. Yarn over, in through our stitch, getting both the front and the back loop. Yarn over and pull your yarn through. You have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and there's our next double crochet. And we're just going to do a double crochet all the way across our row in every stitch. I've been up since before 6, saw Papa Jim off to work. He's so sweet. He makes my coffee for me every morning. So I snuggled in on the couch with our puppy dogs, our fur babies, with my cup of coffee, charged my phone to make sure that I would have plenty of battery for today. Now, I know some of you, while I'm chit-chatting, may work ahead. You may get farther ahead than I am, and that is fine, but know this. The edging for this square is going to be a little different than the edging for square 1 and square 2. So if you work ahead, or if you're catching this on a replay and you decide to skip ahead or just pause and get your square done, just know, don't finish off when you do your edging round 1, like we've done in squares prior. This one's going to be a little different. So make sure that you listen for that when we get to the edging part. I'm down to my last 2. Remember, this is my last double crochet of the previous row, and then this chain 3 where we chained up and turned, that's going to count. So I'm going to do a double crochet in that last double crochet and a double crochet in my chain 3 turn. And again, just for my little bit of self-assurance, because I don't want to look the fool in front of all of you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Now, one thing I'm going to do as well at this time is I'm going to get my square, my half double crochet square that we did last week, and I'm just going to kind of check my gauge here. And look at that. That's going to be nice because I'm going to have this row of edging here and here. So look, this square is going to be the perfect size across that I need to match up with my other squares. So I am right on par where I need to be with square 3. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. Moving on to row 5. How many rows will it take until we end up with a perfect square? I don't know. But I'm just going to keep crocheting. and let everybody know I certainly appreciate everybody being here with me this morning. Again, this here is our first stitch. We're going to skip that first stitch. This is our double crochet that counts as our first one. So we're going to double crochet in the next stitch available right here. So yarn over into our stitch, yarn over and grab our yarn, pull it through. We've got 3 loops on our hook. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and I'm going to continue doing double crochets all the way down my row. Now, I know some of you who are doing other crochet alongs. They're so exciting. I'm so excited to see you share your work. I'm thankful to you for sharing your work that we're doing in this crochet along. I love seeing your posts. I love seeing the different colors that you're choosing. I love seeing your squares when you get them done. And like I had said prior, we're starting from the very easiest stitch and then working our way up. And once we get our basic stitches out of the way, then we're going to start having some really fun textured patterns to work with. So I know that going from the single crochet to the half double crochet and today to the double crochet, it may start feeling like things are a bit mundane, boring, maybe a little bit boring. Bear with me. This is what the sampler is. The sampler is 63 different stitches to make this beautiful heirloom Afghan. We're starting with the easiest. If I were to start with one of the harder patterns, I'd lose some of you right away. Some of you hang with me because you have crocheted for a while, but I would be afraid that I'd lose some of you. So we're doing them in order from the first ones that you learn, and then we get into those textured patterns. So this week is our double crochet. Next week will be our treble crochet. I've already got the tutorials for those. They just need to be posted so you can start practicing those. Once I have internet, those will be posted up. I'm not going to count this row because I'm pretty confident in understanding where my stitch placement is now. But that doesn't mean that you have to do that. You can count every row if you like. I do it's kind of neat to notice that every row's got just this tiny little gap on the ends, and that's going to make a neat little pattern on the sides that will show on your Afghan as well. So skipping this one here, we're working in the next double crochet. I'm going to work a double crochet into that stitch and every stitch across. So what I was saying before I got to the end of the row was just bear with me. We're going to have some fun patterns come up. We're going to have some patterns that I haven't worked in years. The last time I made this particular Afghan was over 20 years ago. So I remember 20 years ago when I made this Afghan for my nearest and dearest friend for her wedding. I remember there were some blocks that were a challenge for me, and I had been crocheting for years. Part of it was because I just really needed to decipher the pattern, how it was written. Some people have different styles on how they write their patterns, and it takes my mind a little while to interpret it. You hear my chickens outside? I don't know if you can hear them. The ladies are out there having a good time. But also because I'm left-handed. So sometimes the patterns need just a little bit more thought for me because I am left-handed. And that's why I made tutorials for you in left and right, because as you watch me as a left-hander, it may be confusing for you, but the tutorials are going to be available for you as a right-hander as well. The magic of editing. You're welcome. The better I get at the editing, it's really not that much more. It's just a couple extra steps to make sure that I have what I need for my right-hander friends. All right, this was our last double crochet of our row, that chain 3 where we turned. So make sure I do a double crochet right in the top of that. Sometimes it takes a little bit to get that hook through there. A little tight fit sometimes. So there's the end of our row. We're going to chain 3 and turn. Goodness, Betty sounds like she's going to lay an egg right out there in the yard. She better go to the nesting boxes. We're going to start our next row again in that next stitch after we turn and just work all the way across. You know, I want to give a little shout out to Yogi Hollow Farm. She kind of turned me on to an app that she uses for her flock, for her chickens or hens, to keep track of how many eggs you get. I've never done that. I've always just collected the eggs, filled up the cartons, be happy we have them. I buy my feed, I feed them. I've never tried to convert anything from feed cost to how much potential profit I have in eggs. I've never done that. I've always just kind of done my own thing. But this app is so neat. If you have chickens and you would like to keep track of how many eggs your girls are giving you every day, it's called Flockstar. Flockstar. You can find it in your app store. It's free. And it's really neat because every day I'm able to enter into a calendar how many eggs I collect. And it's really neat because I started it right when my girls came out of their winter molt. And the days are a little, they're going to start getting longer and ramping up again, and the girls are starting to lay. They didn't lay very much during the winter, but they're starting to now. And I'm able to see the trend on the calendar as I collect more eggs every day. And poor Papa Jim's going to have to get used to the fact that we're going to be eating a lot of eggs because the girls are producing. Here we are to the end of our row. This is our last double crochet of the prior row, and then our chain 3 that's going to count as a double crochet. We're going to do a double crochet in each of these to finish off our row. I hear an eagle outside. And you notice now that the chickens, I don't know if you could hear the chickens before, but the chickens are not squawking and balking. They're quiet because I hear an eagle flying over. He's squawking out there. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rows, and I'd say we're about halfway. So I've chained 3 and I've turned my work. This is the first double crochet. We're not crocheting in this one. We're crocheting in the next one with a double crochet to start row 8. And we're going to do a double crochet in every stitch down the row. Now, as I said earlier, I've had a couple of comments from those who want to participate in this crochet along. And I've heard comments saying, oh, it's too fast. It moves too fast. I can't crochet at the same rate that you do, and I feel lost, or I feel frustrated. Again, keep in mind, I'm speaking as I do this. Some of the videos will have the instructions written on those banners that I could not provide for you today. But you can pause these videos, you can rewind these videos, you can watch them again and again until you get where you need to be on your square. You don't have to try to keep up with me. Please do not be frustrated. If I'm on row 8 and you're on row 3, I want you to do this at your pace. But again, remember, if I'm on row 8 and you're already on row 12, don't get too far ahead of me. Make sure you check to make sure that your work is square using the trick that we've learned since square 1. Or you can use a sewing measurer to make sure that you have as close to equal across and up and down with your measurements. Now, our pattern says that our squares should be approximately 7 inches. Mine are closer to 8. But again, that's all with how your gauge is. It's going to be okay. You're all right. Here's our last considered double crochet because that's our chain 3 turn. We're going to put a double crochet right in that. You know, sometimes if it's hard to get your hook to go through, I like to use the finger of my hand here. I kind of put it behind that stitch so it's not floppy. I put it there and it gives me something really stable to stabilize that, and I can push that hook through a little easier. Finish up my last double crochet, chain 3, and turn. Okay, can't see the chat, but I'm hoping everybody is doing well. On this beautiful Thursday morning, we've got some wispy clouds in the sky. You know, when we go out on our little adventures, I'm going to add a really fun element to it. It's something I saw the other day, and I'm going to add it to our element of our adventures when we go outside and do certain videos, when we go on our adventure labs, when we go on our little trips with Colonel Mustard, on Team Weenie Watchers. If you don't know what that is, please try to catch some of those videos on my channel. We're going to start having more fun now that winter is almost behind us. Almost. Not quite yet. We are expecting one more, I believe, snowstorm. But I'm going to introduce something fun to help us kind of identify some things weather-wise while we're out and about. Nothing too technical, nothing too scientific, but I think it's going to be something that's going to be fun. And again, for those of you who are joining us that maybe you didn't hear earlier, if you're saying something in the chat, I can't see the chat. I'm using my phone as my only media source today. I have it on my rack for my top-down video bird's eye view here, and I cannot see the chat. I cannot send it over to the laptop to read it off of the laptop while I'm working. So I love that you guys are going to be able to chat amongst yourselves. If you see a question in the chat, and if somebody's able to answer that, I appreciate you picking that up. I really, truly do. We're going to chain 3 at the end of this row and turn our work. And look how quickly this square is starting to come together. We're going to work our next row. We're going to skip this first stitch here. We're going to work into the next stitch, a double crochet, and then we're going to do a double crochet all the way across in every stitch. And I think, even though I can tell by looking at my work so far, oh, don't make me a liar now. I'm pretty sure I'm awfully square here, but when I get to the end of this row, I'm going to do a stitch count again and make sure that I have a total of 25 single or double crochet as I work across. So, you know, I'm not even going to wait until I get to the end. I'm going to start counting now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and look at that, I'm right where I need to be. There's 24, and here is our chain 3 turn. That counts as our first double crochet of that row. We're going to go ahead and double crochet in that, and that is 25. So let's just check our work here. You can see that my edges are nice and straight. So that's how I know that my stitch count was good. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fold over and see where we're at to see how close we are to getting a square. So you can see I still have quite a ways to go before this corner ends up over at this corner. We've got to have this much more height in our square. So I'm going to say maybe 4 more rows and then we'll be able to start our edging. So there's 1, 2, 3 chain, and I'm going to turn my work. Skipping here and starting my first double crochet here in this next space, right into that double crochet. I shouldn't say space, it was in the top of a stitch. Make sure I get my terminology right so I don't throw you guys off. But I'm going to do a double crochet in each stitch across, again, just like what we've been doing, ensuring every couple rows that I have 25 across. You know, I love how Facebook will tell you the memories of some of the posts that you've put up in the past, because both Papa Jim and I received notifications this week from Facebook that we had memories to look back on. And it was 9 years ago yesterday that we arrived in Iowa to begin our new life here in the Midwest. It was a 1,700-mile trek from Southern California to where we live now in Iowa. And I believe it took us about 5 days because we had the moving truck and our son was driving the moving truck with a friend. They took turns driving. And then Papa Jim and I rode in our truck pulling our fifth wheel. Up until that point, we had been living in a fifth wheel for 3 years. Now here, I just did my last stitch right here. But remember, our chain 3 up counts as a stitch, so I'm going to make sure I put a double crochet in that. Chain 3 and turn. So the benefit of having that fifth wheel when we moved was we didn't have to get hotels. We were able to just boondock. We could pull into either a truck stop or a Wally World, and all of us just piled into the fifth wheel and we got some shut-eye and then got up and started back on the road again. But because of the large vehicles and because we really weren't in a rush, we didn't want to overtax the kids while they were driving. We took our time, and I think it took us 5 days to come across. And, you know, it's funny. I wish I would have had video then. I really do. I wish I would have had a YouTube then, because not only did we had Harley with us. He rode in the front seat with us. And then we had our St. Roddy, Julie. She was a Rottweiler St. Bernard mix. She rode in the back seat. But we had a mascot with us on our trip, just like we have Colonel Mustard now for some of our things that we do. Back then we had Pirate Steve. So we had a Ken doll that was dressed like a pirate. That's how he came from the store. And I don't know what happened. You know, we had a friend who had little kids and we had the grandkids and stuff, and they were, you know, they would come over to the house and they'd have their bucket of toys and they would play with their toys. Well, poor Steve, poor Pirate Steve, he lost his legs. I don't know what happened to his legs. But so we just had Pirate Steve with his eye patch, his bandana, his long hair, and no legs. And he hung from the rear view mirror. And he went on all of our travels with us. If I had my availability to pull up YouTube right now, I'd see if I could find a picture, because I know I have pictures of him as we're going through different states. And it's like, you know, Pirate Steve is in Oklahoma now. I've always had such weird things like that. So Pirate Steve was our our mascot. And we would get the strangest looks when we would go through drive-throughs. We didn't go through drive-throughs, obviously, with a fifth wheel on the back of our truck, but Pirate Steve was always in the rearview mirror. And if we would go through a Starbucks to get a drink, or if we would go through a place to get something to eat, that would be the first thing that people would notice when they'd open the window at the drive up. They'd open their window to reach for their payment, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, did you know that there's a pirate hanging from your rearview mirror?" It's like, "Yeah, that's Steve. That's Pirate Steve." And they're like, "Where's his legs?" "Well, I don't know. Boating accident, I guess." We didn't tell them that he was ravaged by a 4-year-old and had his legs ripped off. But oh my gosh, those are fun memories. Listen to me just yammering. I hope you guys are doing okay with your crocheting as I yammer about Steve the pirate. That was a lot of fun though. You know, when you have long road trips or something, it's good to have a distraction like that. Steve the pirate. I'm gonna sneeze, I'm sorry. I can't reach anything to mute the microphone. Excusez-moi. Goodness. We're getting down to the last few here. I've got this one here, double crochet, and here's our chain 3 turn from earlier. We're going to make sure we put a double crochet in that. And I've only done 2 rows since the last time we checked. But let's see where we are with our squares. We take a corner and fold it down towards the end of our work here. We're going to see how close we are to getting a square. Look at that. We're getting really close. I think maybe 1 more row, maybe 2. I'm going to check at the end of the next row and see how it looks. So we're going to chain 3 and turn. Remember skipping here, we're going to work in our next stitch and do double crochet in every stitch across. Got ahead of myself and slipped right out of that stitch, didn't I? I do hope I'm keeping my hands in frame so that you can see. It's difficult for me to tell. I have to kind of peek way up and look up and see if I can see what I'm doing. But even if you answered me in the chat and said, "No, we can't see your hands," or "Yes, we can see your hands," I can't see it. And you have this little sticker on here to try to let me know that I need to stay in this general area here. So with that added row, let's see where we're at now. Folding down. How close are we to that perfect square? Whoa! Look at that. I didn't need 2 rows. There's our perfect square that has turned into a perfect triangle. And so that's how you're going to check to see if your work is square every time. Just fold it on the diagonal, and if it meets up, you're good to go. So look at that. There is our square of double crochets. So now we need to move on. Let me grab my notes here. We're going to move on since I can't pull it up. I can't pull it up on my banners like I like to do. We're going to start our edging. So we're going to continue with this color here, and we're going to work round one of our edging. So what we're going to do is we're going to chain one. I'm going to turn this bad boy now. And right here where we've got our last little stitch right here, we're going to do 3 single crochet in this first stitch. And we chained one so we're not too much in a bind right here. So here we go, 1, 2, 3. And what this does, again, is this is going to create our very first corner as we work around our work. Now we're going to work 25 single crochet across, keeping in mind that between this one, and we just use this one, we've only got 23 double crochets to work with. So just like before, partway through, we're going to put in 2 single crochets. So I'm just going to count to 10. So here we go. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Here's 9. I'm going to put 10 in the same stitch. So there's 10. And we're going to keep going across 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I'm going to do 18. I'm going to throw 19 in here too. 19, 20, 21. Whoops. 22, 23. Now, did I get messed up here because I was so busy goofing? Let's see here. Twenty-one, 22, 23, 24. I hate it when I get caught up and I miss what I'm doing. I can always make it up on the next row. I'm going to put my 3 right here in this corner, single crochet. 1, 2, 3. Do I have 24? Do I have 25? I can make it up the next round. Not going to panic. I'm pretty sure I'm okay. Now we want to work 25 single crochet evenly across right here. And in order to do that and make sure I get it even, we're going to do like what we did last time. Let me grab my stitch marker. We're going to fold our work in half. And I'm going to kind of mark where our halfway mark is right here. When I unfold it, I can see it's about right here. These are not the best little stitch markers, but they came with a kit of something that I purchased. Now I want to work anywhere between 12 and 13 single crochets. I'm just going to use these little spaces as I go down to do single crochets. And I want 12 or 13. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm going to go right here and do 10, 11, 12. I'm going to take my stitch marker out now. So I've got 12, and as I said, as you go down, you can kind of see where these little space holes start to pop a little bit. Just gives your work just a little bit of a little filigree pattern on the very edges there. I think it's kind of pretty. So now we're going to do 13 more single crochets until we get to the very corner stitch. Let me put my stitch marker in the very, very, very corner, just because I can and it helps me. And we're going to do 13 single crochet all the way across. So we did 2 here, so let's just do 2 right over here. So here we go, 13 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay. I have the required number. My picos, my little, not picos, but just my little gaps here, they're not entirely even, but nobody's going to pay attention to it. You've got the correct number of stitches. That's what you need. I'm going to remove my stitch marker here out of my very corner. This is the very, very beginning where we did our first chain, when we did our chain 26, 27, whatever we had to start our square. So in this little hole here where this first one is, this is why I want you to have a nice long tail, because this is going to stretch open a little bit. You want to make sure that you don't undo your hard work. We're going to do 3 single crochets in here. 1, 2, 3. And as that hole stretches out a little bit, you can just take that tail now and give it a nice little tug, and it closes it right back up. And we're going to rotate our work, because now we're going to work across this row. This was our beginning chain here that we did. Now, if you just worked through the very, very top loop of that chain, you're going to have 2 little pieces of yarn to work through to work across the bottom here. Remember, we're going to have between here and here, we're going to have about 23. We want to end up with 25. So twice along the way, we're going to have to add an extra single crochet. So I'm going to start right here, and I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Go right back in that same one and do 11. So now I've got my double there. 12, 13, 14, 15. I'm going to double up again right here. So 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25. So there we have 25 single crochets on round 1 of our edging. It's evenly spaced across what is the bottom of our square. So we've got one corner here, one corner here, and one corner here. In the very edge of our square, right here in this corner, we're going to work 3 single crochets. To make our final corner, and we're going to rotate our work, and now we're going to be working across this raw edge here. And just like what we did before, we're just going to kind of fold it over, find where our middle is. When we unfold it, I'm just going to put a stitch marker right here. If I can hold it in the correct direction, because I'm goofy. Just right there. And I'm going to do between 12 and 13 to that point, because this is my halfway mark. And I want to make sure that I have 25 that are evenly spaced. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'll put right there, 6, 7, 8, 9. Ooh, look at it. I kind of got them a little too close there, huh? 10, 11, 12. I'm going to put 13 right there. There's 13. Take the stitch marker out. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25. Now I'm going to go to my very first single crochet here. I'm just going to slip stitch right in here and close off round 1 of our edging. There we go. So now what we want to do is we are not going to finish off. We're not going to cut this. In earlier squares, we would finish that first row of edging and we would cut our yarn and then we would attach the white. But because we already, or I'm sorry, our color A, we would attach whatever color we're using for our final row of our edging. Since we already have it on there, there's no need to cut it. We're just going to leave it right where it is. And we're going to go on and do our row 2, our round 2. And we're going to kind of just go right here to where this little center thing is. We're going to slip stitch over to the very, very, very corner that we've got here, okay? Right there. We're going to chain 1, and we're going to single crochet 3 right here in this corner. 1, 2, and 3. And this is going to create the corner for round 2. Now we want to crochet 27 across until we get to this corner. Want to make sure that we have 27 single crochets. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. There's 15. And I want to remind you, make sure you go through both the front loop and the back loop when you're working on these single crochets around on your edging. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. I'm going to stop right here at 23 and remind you that on 23, don't let me forget 23, I couldn't remember what my stitch count was on the prior row. Remember, I need 27. So if I do 1, 2, 3, 4, then this is going to be my corner. I think I'm going to be okay. So 24, 25, 26, 27. I'm going to make this my corner right here. I'm going to do 3 single crochets to go around the corner. There we go. And there is our second round of edging. Really nice and neat little single crochets that we're going to be able to utilize for when we join our pieces together. Nice and neat. So now we're going to rotate our work. So now we're going to work alongside number 1, this side here. And we should have our even number little single crochets. I hear the eagles out there. My goodness. The eagles are chit-chattering. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I should open the window so you could hear the birds. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. I'm going to do 26 and 27 right there because I think I need to. And this is where you've got that little bit of flexibility. I probably should have added one here, done my corner over here, but it's okay. It's all going to work out. So in this corner right here, we're going to do 3 single crochet in this very last stitch here. 1, 2, and 3. And it's going to take us around the corner once we rotate our work. It's hard for me to identify what bird is out there making all that noise, but my chickens are quiet. All right, 27 across. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, and 27. We're going to put 3 single crochet in the corner, pardon me. 1, 2, 3. And that's going to make it so we can turn the corner here and do our last 27 across this final edge here of square 3. So let's do 27 across. 1 single crochet, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. We're in the home stretch. 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, and 27, right there. And we're going to go to our first single crochet right here, and we're just going to put our hook through both the front and the back loop, grab our yarn and pull it through the loop on our hook. That creates the slip stitch. Going to chain 2 and find my scissor and just leave myself a nice long tail and cut. I'm going to pull that yarn through with my hook, and I've got this little chain 2 tail here. I'm going to pinch it with my fingernails, give it a nice firm tug, and it slides the knot all the way up against my work there. And that's not going to come undone. And there is block number 3. Let's get block number 2, see how we're doing as far as size. Look at that. Look at that. They are perfect. So block number 3, double crochet. Block number 2, single or half double crochet. And block number 1. 1, 2, 3. These will be the colors of my Afghan. Whoops. So all you need to do now is get yourself a nice little yarn needle and sew in your ends. Some of you may have chosen to go ahead and just crochet over your ends as you're working. That is fine. Even if I crochet over my end and I let it come out about right here, I still like to go back and sew the opposite direction because this is an Afghan and it's going to be hopefully lovingly used. As the Afghan is moved back and forth, you don't want that tail to come out that you've crocheted across. So even if I crochet over my tail, I still like to go back and sew in. And when I sew my ends in, I like to just kind of go in the stitches just as I would if they were crocheted over, they would be in these little spaces here. You don't have to be super neat about it. The only thing you need to really make sure you do is know which is the right side of your work and what is the wrong side of your work. This is the back of our piece because you can see that our edging is on the other side. See, here's our edging. We want to make sure that we know that this is the front of our square. This is the back of our square. We can't see that edging, right? So we're just going to go ahead and just pull this yarn through with our needle to secure our end. And then I like to sew back the other direction, but I make sure that I don't go in the same spot where that just came out. I move forward a little bit and it creates a place where it just really pinches that yarn really nice. It's not going to come undone there. It's going to have to take a lot to get that to come undone. So there's 2, and I usually like to do 1 more back the other direction because that way I know it is super secure. And I can share with you that the Afghan that I made for my friend all those years ago, not one tail has come back out. Not one. So we're going to go ahead and cut that. We've got one more tail over here. This is where we finished off. Again, working on the back side, we're just going to kind of feed that through the first couple of stitches to get down here where I've got some great stuff to work with. We're going to pull that through, give it a nice little tug and make sure that that knot is secure. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to go through these stitches. Pull that through. Don't pull it too tight, but give it, a nice little snug pull. You don't want your work to bind up on you. I'm going to go back in the opposite direction now for a good long stretch. And you can see where it just kind of catches it right there. And then one more the other direction, one more time. There we go. And I'm just going to go ahead and snip that off. Be really careful if you use your scissors. Don't get so close that you accidentally cut the very top of a stitch. That wouldn't be very nice. All of that hard work. And there's our double crochet. Again, I love how we have the rows. And then on the sides, we almost got this little filigree pattern down the side of our double crochet block. All right, friends. Again, square 1, square 2, and square 3. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to get ready for the internet repairman to show up. Glad we were able to finish our square without him interrupting us. I appreciate you guys being here so much. I hope you're enjoying this. Again, work at your own pace. I don't want this to be a stressful thing. And I promise, look, here's this little piece I've been working on. Let me show you. Let me show you. Look at the fun little pattern we'll be working on soon. And someone mentioned the last time I showed this, look like little heads of cabbage growing in a field, doesn't it? We're going to have some fun things coming up. Got to get the basics out of the way first. So, single crochet, half double crochet, double crochet. Next week, we will be working on the treble crochet. And as I said, the tutorials will be up for you on that one. And after the treble crochet, we're going to get into some interesting textural patterns to add for our heirloom Afghan. All right, friends, thank you so much for joining me. I really, really appreciate it. Goodbye to everyone in the chat. Hello and goodbye to everybody who's joining us on a replay. I'm so glad you were here with me today. Look for your tutorials, and then I will see you next Thursday for our next Crochet Along Live. Goodbye, friends. I can't see to end the live. There we go.